There comes a moment in every journey when quitting feels like the only option left. Not because you're weak, not because you're incapable, but because you're tired. Tired of trying, tired of failing, tired of not seeing results. And in that moment, your mind starts telling you a story. It says, maybe this isn't for you. It whispers, you've done enough. It convinces you that walking away would bring relief. But listen carefully. Quitting is a feeling, not a fact. Feelings are emotional weather. They pass, they shift, they intensify, and then fade. Yet when you're standing in the storm, it feels permanent. It feels final. The exhaustion feels permanent. The doubt feels permanent. The frustration feels permanent. But it isn't. You are experiencing a temporary emotional reaction to a challenging situation. That reaction does not define your ability. It does not define your future. It does not define your worth. The problem is that when we feel something strongly, we assume it must be true. If you feel like a failure, you believe you are a failure. If you feel incapable, you assume you are incapable. If you feel like quitting, you assume quitting makes sense. But emotions are not evidence. They are signals. And often, they are signals that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone. Growth feels uncomfortable. Progress feels uncertain. And the mind, desperate for safety, tries to pull you back. It tries to protect you from risk, from embarrassment, from more effort. It disguises fear as logic. It disguises fatigue as finality. But just because you feel like stopping does not mean you are meant to stop. It means you are human. It means you are pushing limits. It means you care deeply. And the truth is, the greater the dream, the louder the voice that tells you to quit will become. That voice is not prophecy. It is resistance. It is the natural reaction to stepping into something bigger than your current self. Think about how many times in your life you felt something strongly, only to feel differently later. There were days you felt completely defeated. Yet the next morning, you found a spark of strength. There were moments you believed you couldn't go on, yet somehow you did. That alone proves something powerful. Feelings change. They rise and fall. They are not stable foundations for life decisions. If you make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions, you risk walking away from everything you're capable of becoming. The urge to quit is often strongest right before a breakthrough because pressure builds before release. When you train your body, the muscle burns before it grows. When you study for something difficult, confusion comes before clarity. When you build something meaningful, doubt shows up before confidence. The discomfort you feel is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that you are in the process. And the process is never glamorous. It is repetitive. It is uncertain. It tests your patience. It challenges your identity. But here's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. Successful people feel like quitting too. They just don't make quitting their conclusion. They understand that emotion does not equal destiny. They understand that fatigue does not equal failure. They understand that wanting to stop is part of the climb, not the end of it. And when you begin to separate what you feel from who you are, something powerful happens. You regain control. Instead of saying, I am done, you say, I feel done. And that small shift changes everything. Because if it's just a feeling, it can pass. If it can pass, you can endure it. If you can endure it, you can outlast it. And if you can outlast it, you grow stronger than it. So the next time quitting knocks on your door, don't panic. Don't assume it means you're on the wrong path. Pause. Breathe. Recognize the emotion without surrendering to it. Tell yourself the truth. This is temporary. This frustration is temporary. This doubt is temporary. This doubt is temporary. What would be permanent is giving up on the vision that once lit a fire inside you. What would be permanent is never discovering how close you actually were. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to reset. But you are not allowed to let a passing feeling decide your future. Your dreams deserve more than a temporary mood. Your potential deserves more than a hard day. And you deserve to see what happens if you refuse to let emotion overpower purpose. Because strength is not the absence of wanting to quit. It is the decision to continue despite that feeling. Every time you push forward while your mind says stop, you build resilience. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you reinforce your character. And one day, you will look back at this exact moment, the moment you almost gave up, and you will be grateful you understood the truth. Quitting was never a fact. It was just a feeling. And feelings do not control your destiny. Decisions do. When you reach that breaking point, when the pressure feels heavy and the excitement you once had seems distant, this is where you must pause and remember why you started. Not casually, not vaguely. I mean, truly remember. Go back to that first moment when the idea sparked something inside you. Go back to the night you couldn't sleep because your vision was too big to ignore. Go back to the frustration that pushed you to say, I want more than this, because that beginning matters. You didn't start for no reason. You didn't commit for fun. There was something deep inside you that refused to settle. Maybe it was the desire to change your life. Maybe it was to provide for your family. Maybe it was to prove to yourself that you are capable of more. That reason still exists. It hasn't disappeared just because things got hard. It's just buried under fatigue and doubt. And when you forget your why, the struggle feels meaningless. When you forget your purpose, every obstacle feels personal. But when you reconnect with your why, pain becomes part of the mission. Sacrifice becomes intentional. The long nights become necessary. Your why is not just a motivational quote. It is your anchor. When emotions try to pull you in every direction, your purpose keeps you steady. Motivation is powerful, but it's unstable. It rises when things are exciting and disappears when things are repetitive. Purpose, on the other hand, stays. Purpose doesn't depend on mood. Purpose doesn't disappear because progress is slow. Purpose reminds you that what you're building is bigger than how you feel today. And when you truly remember why you started, you realize quitting would mean betraying that earlier version of yourself who had the courage to begin. Think about that version of you, the one who took the first step, the one who believed without evidence, the one who dared to imagine a different future. That person didn't know how hard it would be, but they stepped forward anyway. They faced uncertainty anyway. They chose growth anyway. And now, standing in the middle of the struggle, you owe that version of yourself more than surrender. You owe them persistence. You owe them the chance to see this through. Because the reason you started was never about convenience. It was about transformation. Nobody begins a meaningful journey because it looks easy. You began because staying where you were became unbearable. You began because average was no longer acceptable. You began because deep down, you knew you were capable of more. And that truth hasn't changed. What has changed is your comfort level. The excitement of the beginning has been replaced by the discipline of the middle. The applause hasn't arrived yet. The results haven't fully shown up. And this is the phase where most people walk away. Not because they lack talent, but because they lose connection with their why. They let temporary discomfort overpower long-term vision. But here's the reality. If your reason was strong enough to make you start, it is strong enough to make you continue. You just have to bring it back into focus. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Visualize the life you said you wanted. See the faces of the people you're doing this for. Feel the pride you imagined experiencing. That future is still possible. It's still waiting. But it demands endurance. It demands that you remember that your current struggle is not random. It is connected to something greater. Every sacrifice is tied to that purpose. Every setback is shaping you for that vision. And when you operate from purpose instead of emotion, You stop asking, is this hard? And you start asking, is this worth it? If the answer is yes, then quitting is not an option. There will be days when you feel disconnected from your goal. Days when the fire feels small. Days when you question whether it's worth it. In those moments, don't search for hype. Search for meaning. Hype fades quickly. Meaning lasts. Remind yourself what will happen if you keep going. Imagine the doors that open. Imagine the growth in your character. Imagine the impact you can have. Then imagine the regret of walking away. Imagine explaining to yourself, LF years from now, why you stopped. Imagine knowing you were capable, but you chose comfort instead. That thought alone should reignite something inside you. Because your why is not fragile. It's powerful. It survived doubt before. It survived slow progress before. And it can survive this moment too. You are not doing this just for applause. You are not doing this just for validation. You are doing this because something inside you demanded change. That demand still exists. That hunger still exists. That vision still exists. And as long as it exists, you are not finished. The journey may test you, but it cannot defeat you unless you disconnect from your purpose. Stay connected. Stay intentional. Stay focused on the bigger picture. Because when motivation fades, purpose must take over. And if your why is clear enough, strong enough, and personal enough, it will carry you through any storm. Remember why you started, and let that reason be stronger than your urge to quit. There is a reason this feels uncomfortable. There is a reason your chest tightens when things get harder. There is a reason your mind starts searching for an exit the moment the pressure increases. It's because growth and comfort cannot live in the same space. The moment you decide to elevate your life, to chase something bigger than your current reality, you automatically step into unfamiliar territory. And unfamiliar territory feels unsafe. It feels unstable. It feels difficult. But that discomfort is not your enemy. It is evidence that you are expanding. Think about it. Nothing grows in comfort. Muscles don't grow without resistance. Skills don't improve without mistakes. Confidence doesn't develop without facing fear. Everything that becomes stronger must first be stretched. And stretching does not feel good. It burns. It strains. It challenges your limits. Yet that is exactly how capacity increases. When you feel overwhelmed, when you feel challenged, when you feel like you're being pushed beyond what you can handle, that is not a sign you should retreat. That is a sign you are being shaped. The pressure you feel today is preparing you for responsibilities you once prayed for. The discomfort you're experiencing is training you for a level you said you wanted to reach. But here's the truth most people don't accept. You cannot ask for growth and then complain when it arrives in the form of difficulty. Growth rarely announces itself gently. It shows up as obstacles. It shows up as setbacks. It shows up as criticism, rejection, delay, and doubt. And in those moments, quitting seems easier than enduring. Comfort seems safer than transformation. But comfort has never built anything extraordinary. Comfort keeps you average. Comfort keeps you predictable. Comfort keeps you in the same cycle year after year. Growth disrupts that cycle. Growth shakes your confidence before it rebuilds it stronger. Growth tests your patience before it strengthens your discipline. Growth forces you to confront weaknesses you didn't know you had. And that confrontation can feel overwhelming, but it is necessary. The truth is, every person you admire has walked through discomfort. Every success story includes seasons of uncertainty. You only see the result, the confidence, the achievement, the breakthrough, but you don't see the countless moments they wanted to quit because it felt too heavy. The difference is they understood something powerful. Discomfort is temporary, but growth is lasting. When you avoid discomfort, you avoid expansion. When you run from pressure, you remain the same. And remaining the same might feel safe in the short term, but it becomes painful in the long term. Because deep down, You know when you are capable of more. That quiet frustration you sometimes feel with yourself, that's not random. That's potential. Knocking, that's the awareness that you were built for more than where you currently are. But potential cannot turn into performance without pressure. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Strength is built under resistance. Leaders are shaped in adversity, and you are no different. Right now, the very thing that makes you want to quit might be the very thing that is building your next level. The sleepless nights are building endurance. The repeated failures are building resilience. The criticism is building emotional strength. The slow progress is building patience. You may not see the transformation happening in real time, but it is happening. Every time you choose to stay when it's uncomfortable, you increase your tolerance for difficulty. Every time you push through fear, you shrink its power over you. Every time you continue despite doubt, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your emotions. And that internal proof is priceless. Because once you realize you can survive discomfort, it loses its ability to control you. You stop seeing hard moments as threats and start seeing them as training. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this building in me? That shift changes everything. It transforms pain into preparation. It transforms struggle into strategy. It transforms difficulty into development. So when you feel that tension, when everything inside you says this is too much, remind yourself that this is the price of elevation. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not being blocked. You are being built. The road to anything meaningful will test you because meaningful things require capacity, and capacity is not given. It is developed. If the journey were easy, you wouldn't grow into the person capable of sustaining the success you desire. The struggle is increasing your depth. The resistance is strengthening your foundation. And one day you will face a challenge that would have once broken you, and you will handle it with calm confidence. That will not be luck. That will be growth earned through discomfort. The pain you're tempted to escape today is shaping the power you will carry tomorrow. So don't rush out of the fire too soon. Let it refine you. Let it stretch you. Let it teach you. Because on the other side of discomfort is expansion. On the other side of pressure is strength. On the other side of wanting to quit is the version of you who can handle more, achieve more, and become more. Stay in the process long enough to transform. Stay uncomfortable long enough to evolve. Stay committed long enough to see what this pressure is producing inside you. Because growth never feels comfortable, but it is always worth it. Let's be honest. Pain is the part nobody signs up for. When you imagine success, you pictured the victory, the achievement, the breakthrough. You didn't picture the rejection emails, the sleepless nights, the silent battles in your own mind. You didn't picture the loneliness that sometimes comes with growth or the discipline required when nobody is watching. But pain is not an interruption of the process. It is part of the process. The struggle you feel right now is not evidence that something has gone wrong. It is evidence that something significant is happening. Anything valuable demands a price. Every level requires a sacrifice. And the greater the vision, the greater the demand placed on you. The problem is not that pain exists. The problem is that we expect progress without it. We want transformation without discomfort. We want strength without strain. But that's not how growth works. Pain is the tuition you pay for elevation. It is the cost of becoming someone you have never been before. And when you understand that, you stop seeing pain as an enemy and start seeing it as a teacher. Pain teaches you patience. Pain teaches you humility. Pain teaches you endurance. It reveals your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. It exposes your fears so you can confront them. It strips away ego and forces you to rely on discipline. The very moments that make you want to quit are often the moments shaping your character the most. Because character is not built when everything is easy. It is built when everything feels heavy and you choose to carry it anyway. Think about any area of life where real strength is developed. When you train your body, it burns before it builds. When you stretch your limits, it aches before it adapts. When you push your mind to learn something new, it feels frustrating before it feels natural. That temporary discomfort is the signal that change is taking place. And the same principle applies to your dreams. The setbacks are strengthening your resilience. The criticism is strengthening your confidence. The failures are strengthening your strategy. But you only benefit from the pain if you stay in the process long enough to learn from it. Too many people experience pain and immediately interpret it as a stop sign. They assume difficulty means they are not meant for it. They assume struggle means they lack talent. They assume obstacles mean the door is closed. But what if the obstacle is actually conditioning you? What if the delay is building your patience? What if the rejection is redirecting you towards something better? Pain has a purpose when you refuse to waste it. It can either break you or build you, depending on how you respond. And here's the truth. Avoiding pain does not eliminate it. It only postpones it. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts far longer. The pain of pushing forward is sharp but short-lived. The pain of wondering what if can stay with you for years. You must decide which pain you are willing to endure, because there is no path that is painless. There is only the pain of growth or the pain of stagnation. And one of those pains leads somewhere meaningful. Right now, the discomfort you feel is not random. It is preparing you for something greater. It is strengthening emotional muscles you will need at the next level. It is deepening your resilience so that when bigger responsibilities come, you can handle them. Imagine achieving everything you desire without the strength to sustain it, without the patience to manage it, without the maturity to protect it. The pain you are experiencing is developing those qualities within you. It is sharpening your focus. It is increasing your tolerance for pressure. It is building a foundation strong enough to hold success without collapsing under it. And one day, when you stand in the place you once prayed to reach, you will realize that the struggle was not there to stop you. It was there to prepare you. Every tear, every doubt, every moment of exhaustion was adding depth to your character. It was creating a version of you who does not fold under pressure. A version of you who does not run at the first sign of difficulty. A version of you who understands that meaningful achievement always requires meaningful sacrifice. So don't curse the pain. Don't resent the process. Let it shape you. Let it strengthen you. Let it remind you that you are in the middle of becoming. Because temporary pain builds permanent strength. And the struggle you feel today is forging the power you will carry for the rest of your life. There is a dangerous moment in every journey. And it's not the beginning when you're excited and full of energy. It's not even the first obstacle. Because at that stage, you're still fueled by determination. The most dangerous moment is the one right T, before the breakthrough, the moment when you're exhausted, when progress feels invisible, when you've given everything you have and it still doesn't seem like enough. That's the moment when quitting feels reasonable, logical even. You start telling yourself, maybe this isn't working. Maybe you miscalculated. Maybe you're not as capable as you thought. But what you don't realize is that this exact moment, the one that feels the heaviest, is often the closest you've ever been to change. Progress is rarely loud. Breakthroughs don't send warnings before they arrive. Most growth happens quietly beneath the surface, out of sight, accumulating strength you can't yet measure. Just because you can't see results doesn't mean results aren't forming. Just because the door hasn't opened doesn't mean it isn't about to. Think about how many stories you've heard of people who failed repeatedly before finally succeeding. What if they had stopped one attempt earlier? What if they had given up one day before the shift? The difference between success and surrender is often just one more effort, one more push, one more attempt. And when you're in the middle of the struggle, it's impossible to know how close you are. That uncertainty is what tests you. That uncertainty is what separates those who endure from those who exit. You are not behind. You are not wasting your time. You are building momentum you cannot yet see. Imagine digging for gold. You strike the ground over and over again. Hours pass, days pass. You see nothing but dirt. Your hands ache. Your energy fades. And at some point, you begin to question whether there is anything there at all. So many people stop digging at that exact moment when they are inches away from striking something valuable. Not because they lack strength, not because the goal wasn't there, but because they couldn't see how close they were. Life works the same way. Success often hides behind the final layer of resistance. The challenge intensifies before the breakthrough because you are about to enter a new level. The pressure increases because your capacity is expanding. And if you quit in that final stretch, you never discover what was waiting just beyond the discomfort. The frustration you feel right now could be a sign that something is shifting. The exhaustion could be proof that you've invested deeply. The silence could be the calm before the opportunity appears. But you will never know if you stop now. Too many people give up during the darkest hour, unaware that dawn is minutes away. They interpret the difficulty as a dead end instead of a test of endurance. And that's the tragedy. Not failure, but premature surrender. You have already survived days you thought you couldn't handle. You have already overcome moments that once felt unbearable. That alone proves you are stronger than you realize. So why assume this is the moment that defeats you? Why assume this is the wall you cannot break? Every previous obstacle prepared you for this one. Every setback strengthened you for this phase. And if you've made it this far, you are not here by accident. You are here because you have the capacity to continue. The truth is, breakthroughs don't belong to the most talented. They belong to the most persistent. They belong to the ones who stay when it would be easier to walk away. They belong to the ones who push one more time when their mind says stop. Right now, you might feel drained. You might feel unnoticed. You might feel like your effort isn't paying off. But growth compounds quietly. Effort accumulates invisibly. And suddenly, what looked like stagnation turns into acceleration. One opportunity changes everything. One connection shifts the direction. One improvement unlocks the next level. But that moment only comes to those who remain in the process long enough to receive it. If you quit today, you disconnect yourself from tomorrow's possibility. If you endure, you give yourself the chance to experience the reward that was forming all along. You are closer than you think. Not because it sounds encouraging, but because effort builds momentum even when you can't measure it. Every disciplined action, every uncomfortable decision, every time you refuse to give up has been moving you forward in ways you cannot yet see. Don't let impatience rob you of progress. Don't let exhaustion convince you that nothing is happening. Stay consistent, stay focused, stay committed to the vision that brought you this far. Because the moment you are most tempted to quit is often the moment right before everything changes. Hold on a little longer. Push a little further. Trust that the work you've done is not wasted. And remember this, the breakthrough you're searching for might be just beyond the point where most people decide to stop. There will be mornings when you don't feel inspired. There will be days when the excitement that once fueled you is nowhere to be found. The energy is low, the mood is off, the vision feels distant. And in those moments, if you rely only on motivation, you will stop. Because motivation is emotional. It rises when things are new, when progress is visible, when praise is loud. But it disappears when the work becomes repetitive, when results slow down, when nobody is clapping. That's why discipline matters more. Discipline is not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't depend on how you feel. Discipline shows up when motivation doesn't. It moves when emotions stall. It acts when comfort calls. And when you want to quit, Discipline is the bridge that carries you across that moment. Think about it. If you only worked when you felt like it, how consistent would you be? If you only pushed forward when you were excited, how far would you go? Feelings are unstable. They change with circumstances. They fluctuate with sleep, stress, and setbacks. But discipline is a decision. It is a commitment you make in advance that you will continue regardless of how you feel. And that commitment is what separates temporary effort from long-term achievement. The people who build extraordinary lives are not constantly motivated. They are constantly disciplined. They wake up and execute, whether they feel inspired or not. They honor the routine, even when it feels boring. They keep promises to themselves, even when no one is watching. That consistency compounds. That repetition builds strength. That reliability creates results. And when you understand that discipline is stronger than motivation, you stop waiting for the perfect mood and start taking action anyway. The truth is, your feelings will try to negotiate with you. They will offer excuses that sound reasonable. You deserve a break. You've done enough. Start tomorrow. And sometimes rest is necessary, but too often those whispers are disguised avoidance. Discipline recognizes the difference. Discipline understands that long-term goals require short-term sacrifice. It knows that comfort today can create regret tomorrow. And so it acts in alignment with purpose, not preference. When you feel like quitting, that is the exact moment discipline must take over. Not because you are superhuman, not because you never feel doubt, but because you have decided your future matters more than your mood. Discipline is built in It's built when you get up at the time you promised yourself you would. It's built when you finish the task even though you're tired. It's built when you practice, study, train, or create without applause. Those moments might feel insignificant, but they are shaping your identity. Every time you follow through despite resistance, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who keeps going. You train your mind to obey your vision instead of your emotions. And that mental training is powerful because once you prove to yourself that you can act without motivation, you unlock a new level of control. You are no longer at the mercy of how you feel. You are no longer stuck waiting for inspiration. You move because you said you would move. You continue because you committed to continue. And over time, that reliability builds confidence. Not loud confidence, but quiet, unshakable confidence. The kind that comes from knowing you can trust yourself. When motivation fades, many people interpret it as a sign to stop. But what if it's actually a signal to level up? What if it's the moment you transition from emotional effort to disciplined execution? Because motivation might start the journey, but discipline sustains it. Motivation sparks the fire, but discipline keeps it burning through storms. And storms will come. There will be setbacks. There will be criticism. There will be periods where progress is invisible. If you depend on motivation, those seasons will defeat you. But if you depend on discipline, those seasons will strengthen you. Discipline does not eliminate difficulty. It builds resilience within it. It creates structure when chaos appears. It creates stability when doubt creeps in. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Just like a muscle, discipline grows through repetition. The more you choose it over comfort, the easier it becomes to choose again. And one day, the habits you struggle to maintain will feel automatic. The effort that once felt forced will feel natural. The consistency that once felt heavy will feel normal. That is the power of discipline. It transforms effort into identity. You don't just do the work, you become someone who does the work. And when you become that person, quitting becomes harder than continuing because your habits carry you forward even when your emotions try to pull you back. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel excited. Act because you decided. Move because you're committed. Show up because your future deserves consistency, not convenience. When you want to quit, let discipline speak louder than emotion. Let your actions prove stronger than your doubts. Because in the end, it's not motivation that changes your life. It's the daily discipline to keep going when you don't feel like it. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Close your eyes just for a second and picture the person you are trying to become. Not the version of you that exists right now, tired and uncertain, but the future version. The stronger one, the wiser one, the disciplined one who has already conquered the challenges you're facing today. Picture how they walk into a room. Picture the confidence in their posture, the calm in their voice, the certainty in their decisions. That version of you exists somewhere ahead in time. They are not a fantasy. They are a possibility. But here's the truth. That future self is being built by the decisions you make today. Every time you want to quit, every time you feel overwhelmed, every time you're tempted to take the easier path, you are casting a vote for the person you will become. You are either building that stronger version or delaying their arrival. The future you is watching, not in judgment, but in anticipation, waiting to see if you will endure long enough to meet them. And when you feel like giving up, it's not just about this moment. It's about whether you will deny yourself the chance to step into that identity. The person you admire in your imagination did not arrive there by accident. They endured what you are facing now. They pushed through what you are tempted to escape. They chose growth over comfort. And if you quit today, you interrupt the process that is shaping you into them. Think about the conversations you will have with yourself years from now. Imagine looking back at this exact season. The struggle, the doubt, the exhaustion. What story do you want to tell? Do you want to say, that's where I stopped? That's where it became too hard? Or do you want to say, that's where everything changed? That's where I proved to myself who I really was? Your future self is built on today's standards. If you lower them now, you inherit that weakness later. But if you raise them now, if you hold yourself accountable now, you step into strength later. It's easy to underestimate how powerful small decisions are. Skipping one effort seems harmless. Quitting one day early feels minor. But those small choices compound. They shape habits, they shape identity. And identity shapes destiny. The disciplined future you is not formed in one dramatic moment. They are formed in ordinary, uncomfortable, unseen moments. Like this one. When nobody is applauding, when nobody is forcing you, when you alone decide whether to continue. That choice matters more than you realize. Because every time you refuse to quit, you send a message to yourself. I am someone who finishes. I am someone who endures. I am someone who rises. And that message rewires your belief system. It builds self-trust. It builds inner strength. It builds the foundation for confidence that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks. Your future self does not need you to be perfect. They need you to keep showing up. They need you to stay in the fight long enough to grow into them. Now imagine finally meeting that future version of you. Imagine standing face to face with the person who achieved what you once thought was impossible. They look at you, not with arrogance, but with gratitude. Because they know something you don't yet fully understand. They exist because you refuse to quit. They exist because you endured the discomfort. They exist because you chose discipline over emotion, purpose over mood, growth over comfort. Every difficult decision you make now is a gift to that future self. Every extra effort, every uncomfortable action, every moment you push through builds their strength. And one day, when you are living in the results of your persistence, you will thank yourself for not walking away. You will realize that the pain was shaping power. The delay was building depth. The struggle was increasing capacity. You will see that the person you dreamed of becoming was never out of reach. They were simply waiting for you to grow into them. So when you feel like quitting, remember that it's not just about this task or this goal. It's about who you are becoming. It's about whether you will honor the vision that once inspired you. It's about whether you will choose temporary relief or long-term transformation. Your future self is watching your consistency. They are shaped by your resilience. They are strengthened by your endurance, and they are counting on you to keep going. Don't disappoint the person you have the potential to become. Keep pushing, keep growing, keep choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. Because the version of you that achieves greatness is built by the version of you that refuses to quit today. Every decision you make is not just a reaction to a moment. It is a rehearsal for your future. When you quit once, it becomes easier to quit again. When you walk away under pressure, your mind remembers that escape as an option. And the next time things get hard, it will suggest the same solution. Quitting is not usually one big event. It is a pattern built quietly over time. A skipped effort here, a delayed commitment there, a promise to yourself that goes unkept. And slowly, without realizing it, you train your brain to retreat when challenged. But the opposite is also true. Perseverance is a habit. Endurance is a habit. Every time you choose to continue despite discomfort, you carve a new pathway in your mind. You teach yourself that difficulty is not a signal to stop, but a cue to push deeper. You reinforce the identity of someone who finishes what they start. And identity is powerful. Once you see yourself as someone who endures, quitting feels foreign. Once you experience the strength that comes from pushing through, retreat feels weaker than resistance. The choice you make in this moment is shaping your mental blueprint. It is programming how you will respond to future adversity. So when you feel like giving up, understand that it's bigger than this single goal. You are either reinforcing the habit of surrender or strengthening the muscle of perseverance. Habits are built in repetition, and repetition is built in Nobody wakes up one day suddenly resilient. Nobody develops unshakable determination overnight. It's formed in the ordinary moments. The days when you don't feel like it but do it anyway. The nights when you're exhausted but finish anyway. The times when progress feels invisible but you stay committed anyway. Those anyway moments matter more than you realize. They accumulate. They compound, and over time, they transform you. The mind adapts to what you repeatedly demand of it. If you consistently demand comfort, it becomes fragile. If you consistently demand effort, it becomes strong. If you repeatedly choose the easy way out, your tolerance for pressure shrinks. But if you repeatedly choose to endure, your capacity expands. You become someone who can handle more, sustain more, achieve more. That's why perseverance is not just about reaching a goal. It's about building a version of yourself who is capable of reaching many goals. When you refuse to quit, you're not just finishing a task. You're training your character. You're developing emotional control. You're strengthening mental toughness. And that strength carries into every area of your life. The discipline you build here shows up in relationships. The resilience you build here shows up in leadership. The persistence you build here shows up when bigger opportunities arise. You are constructing the internal architecture that will support future success. And that architecture must be strong, because life will not get easier at higher levels. It will demand more. And the only way to prepare for more is to practice endurance now. Every challenge is an opportunity to reinforce perseverance as your default response. Every obstacle is a chance to teach yourself that you do not fold under pressure. And once that lesson is deeply ingrained, it changes everything. There will always be moments that test you. There will always be seasons where quitting seems reasonable. But remember this, every time you overcome the urge to quit, you are stacking evidence of your strength. Evidence that you can handle discomfort. Evidence that you can outlast doubt. Evidence that you can stay steady when emotions fluctuate. That evidence builds confidence, not loud confidence, but grounded confidence. The kind that doesn't panic at setbacks. The kind that doesn't crumble at criticism. The kind that stands firm because it has history. History of endurance. History of resilience. History of pushing through. And once perseverance becomes your habit, it begins to define you. You are no longer someone who tries. You are someone who finishes. You are no longer someone who hopes. You are someone who executes. You are no longer someone who retreats. You are someone who rises. That identity is forged through repetition, through choosing strength again and again, through refusing to let temporary feelings dictate permanent decisions. And one day, when you look back at all the moments you wanted to quit but didn't, you will see the pattern. You will see how each decision built the next level of you. You will see how endurance shaped your confidence, how persistence shaped your results, how resilience shaped your life. So in this moment, when quitting feels tempting, choose carefully, because you are not just deciding what to do, you are deciding who to become. And if you choose perseverance today, you are building a future where quitting is no longer your instinct, but strength is. And now it all comes down to this. You will have moments when you want to quit. You will feel the weight. You will question yourself. You will doubt the process. But remember everything you've just realized. Quitting is a feeling, not a fact. You started for a reason. Growth requires discomfort. Pain is shaping strength. You are closer than you think. Discipline is stronger than motivation. Your future self is being built right now. And perseverance is a habit you create with every decision. This journey was never meant to be easy. It was meant to transform you. The obstacles were never meant to stop you. They were meant to prepare you. The struggle was never NT to break you. It was meant to build you. So when that voice whispers, give up, let your purpose answer louder. When your emotions say stop, let your discipline say continue. When the road feels long, remind yourself why you started walking it in the first place. You have survived every hard day before this one. You have overcome challenges you once thought would defeat you. That means you are stronger than this moment, stronger than this doubt, stronger than this urge to quit. And the version of you waiting on the other side of this struggle is worth every ounce of effort. Do not quit. Not today. Not here. Not when you've come this far.